Hello and welcome to a super micro episode of Wrestling 20 Years Ago, where me and Mr. Peter Kimber will be reviewing a comic book that we have been sent over called Invasions of Planet WrestleTopia. But before we go into that, Peter, how the devil are we?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well indeed. This fine Sunday morning
Yes,
or afternoon
yes.
now, should I
Yeah, well, about that time, isn't it? So,
say?
a little bit about what this was and how this has come for us to be reading it. So, we were contacted via the power of the interwebs, which is a wonderful thing. Basically, going, would you be interested in reviewing this comic that has been created for wrestling fans? And me and Peter, both being comic book fans, went, do you know what? Fuck it, we'll give it a go. So we were sent over Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. It's been written and co-created by Matt and Ed Connell and released through Suspicious Behavior Productions. As I said, was sent over to us. We got the first two issues as pre-release press editions. So we'll go over what sort of a rough bit on that and whether we think it'd be interesting. But this is the tagline. When a disgruntled pro wrestler declares himself galactic champion of the universe, a planet of alien wrestlers views it as an act of war. Pete, you hear that? You're definitely thinking 80s storylines, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, as we go through it, the characters are very much that way inclined as well. So it certainly grabs your attention. And if you're a wrestling fan, I think you'd want to go and have a look at it and have a good read. So yeah, it was a nice little hook in there, I think.
So as I said, we were sent over the first two issues. The first issue, obviously, we're not going to do a blow by blow of it. We're not going to spoil it for you, so you can go and read it yourselves. But in the first issue, obviously, reading it banged for it fairly quickly because it is a really decent read. The art style is fucking awesome, and I really, really liked it. It is very much callback to 80s regional promotional wrestling. Washed up guy that's broken ties with every fed that he's worked with, can't keep in a fed, pisses off the promoters, basically doesn't want to do the job, so puts himself over and makes this universal championship, which made me giggle because the Fed these days, and finds out that there is a planet of wrestlers in the cosmos, and they do not like the fact that someone has taken their title. Pete, so after this first issue, what were your initial thoughts?
It kind of took me back to like obviously being a bit of a sci-fi fan as well. That they heard this communication from obviously when he was interviewed, wasn't he, on the telly, and it somehow that communication got sent to outer space, and obviously then the whole of the galactic world got to hear this, as you say, washed-up wrestler declare that he was the intergalactic champion of the universe. So that was quite amusing in that sense, and Rory Landau as well. Obviously, I think there's a real homage to Ric Flair. I guess you must have picked that up as well with the his style of sort of jive talking that he did. So that
Say
kind of
with that there was a little bit of Boogie Woogie Man, bit of
yes,
Flair, bit of Dusty. Sort of basically all the great talkers of the 80s all had that sort of that jive to them. It's just sort of definite throwback to Gordon Soley with the stick type interviews on NWA TV.
I think this guy's just trying to get himself, just say, get himself over, get himself known. Obviously, he's got that character, and he's very confident. But as you quite rightly say, he's just pissed off everybody around him, and doesn't think he should ever lose a match, and should be champion. So gets a bit disgruntled and a bit washed up, doesn't it? In the end, basically, of the first sort of issue, he's a bit left on the heap, isn't he? As such.
And I do love that they even jumped in with the wrestling's racism of making a guy from Hawaii Japanese, aka Yokozuna.
Yeah. There's even an appearance by a bear, which really throws you back into kind of circusy type. I'm not sure what era that was from, 60s, 70s, probably where they
I was
used
going
to
to say
potentially have a.
Stampede. I think Stampede still had a wrestling bear till like the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, so it's good to have that. So it is a real throwback theme to it, which I think actually we can all appreciate rather than a lot of the modern stuff that's going on right now. It's quite nice to have a bit of a look back into sort of 80s style or 70s, 80s style that a lot of people probably don't see anymore with the characters we see out there now. It's quite serious now, isn't it? Wrestling in that sense. You don't get the cartoon characters, as it were, and this is a real good in that sense. But it takes you back quite nicely, I think, if you were in that sort of world.
Yeah, it's very, very carny. It goes definitely back to the carny days of wrestling. So we'll sort of go into issue 2 a little bit, and then obviously we'll discuss the whole aesthetics together. So yeah, issue 2 basically goes on a little bit of the backstory of where we'd got to, where, obviously the broken protagonist of this is the son of another washed up, broken down wrestler. Because, traditional wrestling stories there. You get his backstory that he was a broken down, no good wrestler, the same as where his son's turned into. And then we see the invasion from the wrestling planet with just over the top sort of. They remind me very much of characters that should have been in He-Man, with the massively over chiseled bodies, but weird sort of metal and skull masks and stuff. It is another really, really cool issue. And the one thing I will give it is the fact that by this point I'd got to the end of this one, I was wanting issue 3.
Yeah. I think we both completely agree on that having read the first 2 issues, now we're ready for issue 3 and see where obviously this goes and what happens next. So that can only be a credit to the guys, obviously, that wrote this and delivering it as it is. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get to issue 3 and 4 and down the line. I'm not sure how many issues there are going to be in the series, but
I know I've spoken to the guys. I know it's a 6-part story arc. So,
okay.
I definitely want the other 4 so I can finish the story.
Yes.
So let's have a sort of go over the comic side of it. Obviously, as I said earlier, I really dig the art style in this. It reminds me very much of the 80s and 90s Guardians of the Galaxy stuff and X-Men and that sort of, where it's the beginning of where you've just got the dot matrix style coloring system to full colors, but it's got that retro look to it that sort of makes it slightly timeless looking.
Yeah, so they've got that exactly right. They could have made it look, I'm not sure you'd say the word slicker, but actually it sits perfectly in what we're reading and the situation it's in. And I really like the colours, lots of purples in there and sort of beiges with the background. There's not masses of detail, is there, in that sense, but it's really sort of played down. But it's played down in such a way that actually suits what's going on. And there's also the kind of throwbacks to sort of old Batman stuff with the the whams and the whooshes and the whumps and the cracks and that kind of thing going on. So it kind of does take you into it. It is still a comic at the end of the day, which is really good. So it should appeal to a lot of people.
There's the bit where there's the fight in the bar in issue 2, which is there's like 4 pages which are just the fight, and the action is just as good as anything you'll see in any of the Batman comics, which to me is the gold standard of action scenes in comics. So it's definitely visually awesome and sort of doesn't struggle at all there with what it looks like. And as I said, the story was so compelling. I'm like, where's the next one? I want more.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Looking forward to hopefully getting hold of those the final 4 to complete it. And I guess where does it go from next, and what's next from these guys? Because I've never heard of the publication themselves before personally. I don't know about you, Chris, but
as I say, they're not ones that I knew of, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye out on them because they're with this so far is awesome. So yeah, definitely want more of it. So normally we'd say, would you go and watch it, or would you go, sort of give it a score out of 10? We can't really do that for this, but what we can do is, if you are a comic fan and clearly you like wrestling, you listened to wrestling 20 years ago, would you recommend people sort of going into it, cracking it open and giving it a read.
Absolutely, I think it's an easy read. It suspends disbelief quite nicely. It links into to wrestling, particularly 20 years ago, where obviously we're doing a lot of. Well, I know you guys obviously are running the show. We're just contributing because it fits into that model quite well. And if you're a comic fan, it ticks that box as well. So really, I would go out of your way to track it down. Go to your local comic book shop, or even get hold of these guys. And I think Chris is going to give out some details anyway for where to find them and look out for them. So try and track it down, and it's definitely worth a read. As you say, it's such a quick and easy read as well. You can just literally dip into it. Within, I don't know, 10 minutes, you've read it and you're ready for the next one. So that's the best sign you can give to anything you read, isn't it? You can't put it down. You want to go on to the next. So big thanks to the guys that have seen publications for it.
Yeah, so as I said, I pretty much agree with everything Peter said. If you like comics and you sort of like wrestling and like carny wrestling and have a soft spot for the 80s, then this is definitely going to be worth reading for you. So yeah, to grab the guys, their Twitter is at SBP_comics, and I've had communication with them. They're a really good bunch. So yeah, if you have any questions, obviously speak to them. They'll give you the ways to get hold of everything. I have to thank them obviously for sending us over the review copies. It has been really, really awesome. We should let you know that this month for the shows will be out obviously at the end of the month as always. In ECW is a TV month, in WWF is Backlash, and WCW is Spring Stampede. So lots of fun to look forward to later on this month. Obviously, if you want to hear my musings on music, go to Show and Tell with Tunes. We are nearly at episode 150, and it's a nigh on 3 hours new metal special because that's how I roll. If you like your shit from 1999, you will love it. Pete, have you got anything you'd like to pimp and share with the group?
Not really. No, I'm a bit pimpless at the moment. So I just obviously let's make sure we goes on to the. Is this going to be a Patreon episode? Is that right, Chris?
No, it's going normal. We're going to check it out on the normal feed.
Obviously, guys, sign up to the Patreon. You're going to get all the episodes earlier, or when they're basically ready to go. Lots of special episodes. There's loads going on recently, and loads more to come from all the guys who are doing, specials and watch-alongs and loads of things. And for $5 a month, you get all that. I've been a patron for about 3 years now, so I get all the stuff, all the early bits, and I'm on the show sometimes as well. So, I still look forward to seeing all the special shows we do, out of timeline or in time or whatever. So make sure you go on to our Patreon and support us that way.
Yeah, obviously, speaking of Patreon, there was a really cool favourite matches and manias just before WrestleMania went up last weekend, which was done as a favourites, not what do we think is the best, which actually gave some really good results. And novelly enough, Steamboat and Macho was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, that was interesting, actually. I thought about it after I listened back to, obviously, I was looking forward to hearing what you guys were saying about it, and I was surprised. Maybe that's just something that everyone just thinks is a given, but maybe left it out for that reason, and everybody did exactly the same, probably, I suppose. Unless it hasn't aged that well, or I don't know. But
I think it's one of those, you know that it's good, but it's not a favourite. It's not obviously something that you'd go back to watch. That was where I was going with it. It's like,
yeah,
I know it's a classic match, but classic doesn't always mean my favourite.
Yeah, because some people had Hogan Andre, didn't they, from WrestleMania 3? It's just a more, I know, a bigger event maybe at the time, I suppose, and a bigger match in that sense. But yeah, it is interesting. Lots of ones that you think were missed out, and some you thought, oh yeah, that one, I forgot about that one, because you're trying to trawl through in your mind at that point 34 WrestleManias, so it's quite difficult, but a lot of fun. Obviously, I only did mine via an email to yourself, I think, but obviously you guys were on the show as well. But a really good listen, and another reason to be a part of the Patreon.
So yeah, if you want to know what we all thought are the best, because pretty much most of the group sort of sent in their ideas. So if you want to know what we all think is the best Mania, or not the best, our favourite Mania and our favourite matches, get onto Patreon to hear that. And at some point this month, not Del, Eric.
I was going to say.
Eric and Rory are doing a watch along of Mania 11.
Ooh.
which I have a car crash interest in to see why Eric loves this show so
I was
much.
going to say, this is Eric's favourite show, isn't it? Or favourite
Yeah.
WrestleMania. So it'll be interesting to see Rory playing devil's advocate. It'll be quite hilarious to listen to, I'd imagine.
So if you want to hear that, get onto our Patreon, as we said, for the loathsome sum of $5, which is about £4.20, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Roughly, with exchange rates and such. So, again, thank you very much for listening to this micro episode. We'll be back at the end of the month with our usual shows. Obviously, if you want more, go to Patreon. Thank you very much, and goodbye.